first Friday of the month, and that means it's time for Eye on Terre Haute. This is where we sit down with Mayor Duke Bennett and talk about what's happening in the city. And of course, what's happening in the city is now we just had a major ice storm. We've been through a major ice storm. Thank you for joining us this morning. Let's talk a little bit about the aftermath. We are now dealing with the after effects of this big ice storm. And the next big part of this is the cleanup. This is a massive cleanup effort.
It really is. You know, anytime you get ice, I mean, it really hampers what's going on. You know, snow's one thing, but when you get this ice and everybody can see as they've been out driving around how many limbs have fallen from the trees as an example. We're going to have a lot of cleanup with that. And one of the things that I really want to make clear, though, we've already getting calls, you know, this week about my tree fell in my backyard. When are you guys going to come and clean it up? Well, you know, the city doesn't clean that up. We clean up the trees in the tree row. That's in our right-of-way. That's our responsibility. But if you have trees and limbs down in your yard, Republic will take those away, but you got to get them chopped up into smaller bundles. You can put them in your trash can. You can bundle them up, set them next to your trash. We'll pick up all the debris from the trees in the tree row. And so stack it up, you know, next to the tree, and we'll get around to do it. People are going to have to be patient, though, but we will eventually get to pick those up.
And also, will you be picking up things that are out on the road as well?
Yeah, anything from basically the inside of the sidewalk to the inside, you know, the house side, if you will.
Right.
All that whole area of our right-of-way we'll pick up. We'll come and get, you know, limbs. Now, if you've got a tree or a limb that's fallen on a car, we had a call about that this morning. You know, we can't remove that tree because of liability to the car. You need to call your insurance company and, you know, work with them to get the tree removed. And we'll come and do our part to clean up what's left, whatever they don't clean up. But our crews are not going to remove trees that are on cars or big limbs because we might cause additional damage, and we can't be in that liability perspective. We'll assist with that. If they just get it cleared off the car, we'll come and get it. But that's the only thing that I've seen so far that's something we're not going to come out and clean them off cars.
Let's talk a little bit about the street department. How are we dealing with salt, sand mixture, that kind of thing? Are we okay on supplies right now?
We're okay on salt right now. We had enough to get through this particular event. You know, we've had 7 snows so far, and then we had the ice storm. And so that's about as many as we have in the whole winter. We've still got weeks to go.
Yeah.
The problem is getting additional salt because there's a big need for the salt. We've run into this before. We buy it through a contract with the state. We can get more, but when you have to commit to it, you got to buy it. So you've got to buy quite a bit. We may have something left over after we buy it, but it will cost us more. Sand is no problem. We get that locally. We can get all the sand we want. Now, some people are asking, how come we're not putting sand and salt on every street? Well, we can't do that either. As you can imagine, it would take up all of our resources. And, you know, in some cases, you're just going to have to to deal with those side streets are going to be icy for a while. That's usually these storms within 2 or 3 days, they'll begin to break up and be gone. I'm afraid this one may last for a week or more because of the thickness of the ice. So just please be careful. If there's a specific intersection that people are sliding into an intersection, you know, we come out and sand and salt those, but we can't just do all 750 miles of streets in the city. And so people are just going to have to be very, very cautious.
I was talking to Brad Miller, who's with the street department, the head of the street department, and they're working 12-hour shifts, and so they're just working as hard as they can.
We've got 15 trucks, and we've got about 30 guys that are actually out doing that kind of work. So we work, 15 trucks are running 12 hours, and those same trucks are running the next 12 hours.
And let's talk about the grand scheme of things. Let's look at all this. What is this going to do with the budget, with the money aspect?
Well, that's always the toughest one because over the next few weeks we'll be able to add up the expenses of this. But we have, you know, overtime, obviously. We've got the expense of the sand and the salt. You know, it's just those things are normal business, if you will. But when you have an 8th event already this year,
and an already tight budget.
Right, we budget for about 5 or 6. So, you know, in some years you're a little under, some years you're a little over. Well, this year it looks like we're going to be clearly over, and with the declining revenues, we got to find that money somewhere. So there's going to be something else we're going to have to cut back on to make up for this to get us through the rest of the year. But we got to take care of it. We got to do it. It just means that something else will have to suffer down the road.
All right, and is there anything else that you want to get across to our viewers about if they have limbs down or they have any other questions about the ice storm, concerning the ice storm with the city?
Well, I guess there's just 2 quick things. If you've got a tree or limbs down that are in your yard, not in the tree road, just break them up into 4-foot bundles, set them next to your trash, Republic will pick them up.
Okay.
They may not pick them up this week or next week, but they will get them when they get back on regular schedule. Another thing that we're getting a lot of calls about energy, you know, power, and people are thinking that the mayor can turn their power back on. Duke Energy is working really hard. I know you've had Rick Berger and these guys on and have talked with them. They are. I'm in contact with them every few hours. They're giving me an update. The numbers are going down. Still about 9,000 people that don't have power, but by the end of the day, a few more thousand of those ought to be taken care of. They're working really hard. It is dangerous out there. Just be patient. I know it's frustrating, but we're trying to support them as much as we can.
All righty. Thank you so much, Mayor, for coming on this morning. We appreciate it.
Problem.
And if you'd like to see this segment again, or you have a segment idea of your own, go to WTHI-TV.com and click on the community page.